I'm Paul Wolliver. I'm the owner of Pinellas Power Products. This video is to show you my new heavy-duty version of my wireless remote shutdown for the EU2000. This is simply a heavier-duty version of my original kit. Number one, the kit is in a plain cardboard box. It is made from recycled materials. It is 100% recyclable. If you're watching this video, you probably appreciate as much as I do not having plastic and plastic bags and trash and so on laying around an otherwise pristine campsite. So that's why I package everything in biodegradable material. The first thing you'll get is a sheet of paper with a quick description on how to install it and a shameless advertising plug from me. Basically, it tells you that you bought the greatest thing since sliced bread. The next thing in the kit will be a flash drive that you plug into your computer, and it contains a high-resolution version of the exact video that you are now watching. It also has a shameless advertising plug for myself on it. The next thing in the box is going to be 2 long zip ties. Then there's a battery. My new heavy-duty kits use a 12-volt battery instead of a 5-volt battery, because some of my customers up north have brought to my attention that if you got a 5-volt battery in freezing conditions, the battery voltage actually drops. And if the battery voltage drops below 4 volts, the other one had problems. Specifically, it didn't work. So this is a 12-volt battery. It's going to take an awfully cold condition for a 12-volt battery to drop to below 4 volts. Next item in the kit will be the battery charger. And that simply plugs in and charges up the battery. You can either plug it into a wall outlet and plug it in here and charge up the battery, at which point it'll last for about 2 weeks in standby mode with no additional charging. The next thing is a transmitter, and you simply push the button and it shuts the generator off. There are some small zip ties included in the kit, and they're simply to tidy up the work area once you're done. And then there is the receiver module, and that's what hooks to the generator and actually shuts it off. So as you can see, there are very few parts in it, and it's very easy to install. Let's go ahead and do one. First step will be to remove the side cover. If you look in here, you'll see that there is a small 2-wire plug right down here next to the stock on-off switch. Squeeze the tab, and these 2 wires disconnect. What we'll do now, we'll take the receiver module. There are 2 plugs on it. It is impossible to get them backward. Plug one in to one side of the original Honda stock plug, and the other one into the other side. And as I said, you cannot get them backward. It's very simple. We're going to take this wire, and I'm going to route it up over the top of the air box and tuck the receiver in behind the air box itself. The reason I do this is because that way the receiver module and the antenna is at the top, and this is all plastic covers. If you put it down low behind the engine block and somebody tries to stand over there and turn it off, you've got the generator and the ignition coil and a metal engine block, all which limit the range of a radio transmitter. So if you put it up high, your radio transmitter range will be a lot more effective. This one, under ideal conditions, about 150 to 200 feet, which is pretty good for such a simple system. The next step, and this is probably the most difficult step, is the battery charger will plug into one of the outlets so that it can charge the battery while the generator is running. If you don't want to do that, then you don't have to do this feature. You simply plug in the battery and have it charged up, and it charges up overnight, and it'll last about 2 weeks in standby mode. But if you're going to use this generator as an APU on a big truck, or for some reason that you just want it to be able to run forever, I like it to look nice and clean. So what I'm going to do is there are several vent holes right along through here. And the 2000, which this is, actually has larger vent holes than the 2400 or the 2200 Honda. So it's actually slightly easier, but this is still the biggest pain on the entire install. So I'm going to feed this wire, and I'm feeling for it with my other hand. Okay? So far, so good. This is usually the most pain in the butt part of the job. And then I'm going to go and play leapfrog along here, feed it in one hole, pull it out another one, and so on, so that I can get it where it comes out fairly close to the outlet here, so that most of the wire is actually hidden and therefore aesthetically pleasing. Okay. Now we'll take the battery charger. We'll undo the bread tie. And we'll just tape these two together so that we can pull them back through. And that will be the challenging part, because they like to get snagged on different things. And I'm going to take this and just twist it up so it hangs loose like that. And the main reason is that makes it a lot easier to untape this when I'm done. Now comes the difficult part. It's feeding all this back in through here. As I said earlier, this is the biggest pain of the whole job. Okay, so now we've got the wire fed through. You can breathe a sigh of relief. That was actually the hardest part. So now we're going to remove our little piece of chase wire. And here's the battery charger wire. There are two receivers, so you can't possibly get them mixed up. Take the battery charger lead and plug it in to the main harness, like this. Then you're going to take the final wire from the battery charger lead, feed it up behind the airbox, feed the main junction plug up behind the airbox, and allow enough wire so it'll come down to about here. When it's all done, you're going to wind up feeding it behind the stepper motor for the throttle. But you want it to come down about here, that way there's enough room to move. I'm going to take these wires and fold them back and forth a couple of times, and take one of the small zip ties included in the kit and zip tie these wires and the two wires from the receiver module, and I'm going to zip tie these to the fuel line. And the fuel line is held in place rather securely. And the whole purpose of this is just to tidy up the work area. So when it's done, you don't see a whole bunch of wires just shoved in there any which way. And I'll take a pair of cutters and just cut the end off of that zip tie. We'll make sure that these two plugs are plugged in securely and tuck that back down in where it used to be. Then we'll take the two large zip ties from the kit. The first one, we're going to go around the wiring harness that goes to the stepper motor for the throttle, and that would be the black piece, and around the float bowl vent line. And just loosely attach it. We'll go ahead and take our battery charge cord and get it out of the way there. And we'll take the second one and we will put it around the stepper motor wiring harness and the carburetor drain line, and just loosely connect it. Now we're going to take our battery pack, make sure that the switch and the terminals are facing up, and we're going to go ahead and put the battery in and pull these tight. Now I pointed out that you want the switch to face up. There is a switch on this battery. This is the off position, and with the off position there's no draw on the battery. When you're going to use the generator, go ahead and turn it on. And as I stated before, the battery's got enough power to last about 2 weeks in standby without recharging. Right now 4 of the indicator lights are on. If all 5 indicator lights are on, you'll have 100% charge. 4 would be 80%, 60%, 40%, 20%. You get the idea. But it's a 12 volt battery. So now we'll take and plug the battery charge lead in to the top of the battery. And you'll notice that there is a slight gap where it plugs in. It is making good connection. So with the battery switch in the on position, your install is ready to go now. So the next step would be to put the cover back on. Just take one more glance at it, make sure that your battery is turned on. And put your cover on. Your install is now complete. I'm going to go ahead and show you, and I'm going to shut it off real quickly because I don't want to kill us with carbon monoxide, because this is a small room and it's going to fill up fast. But the starting procedure, if you've already owned one of these and you know how to start it, turn the stock on-off switch to the on position. If this is in the off position, the generator's off, or if the button is being pressed, the generator's going to shut off. But at any rate, turn this to the on position and choke it. To shut the generator off, you'll press this button and hold it in until the generator comes to a complete stop. If you release the button early, it'll rev right back up again. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it through a couple of times, and then I'll start it, and then I'll shut it off rather quickly so we don't kill ourselves with exhaust. Also make sure that the fuel cap vent is in the on position. Shut the generator off, and now push the button. It's pretty straightforward and simple. And that should just about do it.